Ozzy when I was around 18, and he came into my father's office for management with Black Sabbath. So I was 18 when I first met him.
Love at first sight?
No, not at all. I was like, oh Lord, look at them. And they were all odd and hairy, and because I'd been used to dealing with artists that were American, and they were slick, and they were really put together, and they smelled nice, and, suddenly these guys come in and they're hairy and they're very, from the north of England, and they don't look or dress like anything I've ever seen. And so I was very nervous of them.
Well, given that first impression, how in the world did anything ever develop?
I went to see their show that night with my father. They performed at this club in London, and I was so in awe of what I was seeing. Again, I hadn't seen anything like that, because all the artists that we had dealt with were very slick and a different category of music.
You won't believe what Sharon Osbourne just revealed about falling in love with Ozzy. It's raw, wild, and completely unexpected. When I first met Ozzy Osbourne, I didn't realize I was meeting the man who would change my life forever. I was young, and he was already a figure of rock and legend. Ozzy had this magnetic presence, wild, raw, unpredictable, but beneath that surface, I sensed something vulnerable. To be honest, I thought, this is not someone I will fall for. But life has a way of surprising you. Ozzy had been fronting Black Sabbath. He had the stage, the notoriety, the fans. And I was the daughter of a manager, used to the edges of the music business, the coming and going of artists, the excess and the chaos. When we first met, I looked at him and thought, a rock star, loud and messy, hair everywhere, wild energy. I wasn't swept away immediately. I was cautious. But what caught me wasn't the fame. It was the person I glimpsed underneath. Ozzy could make me laugh. In the most unexpected moments, he revealed his humor, his shyness, his uncertainty. I remember thinking, here is someone who, for all the bluster and reputation, still has an inner softness. He'd crack a joke, then pause and look at you like he was wondering if you believed it. I found that fascinating. And so what began as a manager-artist relationship slowly shifted to something deeper. During the years that followed, Ozzy's life was not easy. There were battles with substances, there were dark nights and regrets. In those moments, I saw his struggle and I saw my own. He wasn't perfect. Far from it. Yet I discovered I loved not only his talents, but his humanity. I loved the way he insisted on trying, even when the world told him he'd failed. He might have told the loudest jokes and been the wildest on stage. But when the noise faded, there was that glint in his eye. A man who needed love. Who needed someone to believe in him. I remember one evening when Ozzy asked me, "Why are you still here?" I looked at him and said, "Because I love you." And I meant it. It wasn't romantic fluff. It was real. I was in love with him not because of his legend, but because of the man. Because part of me believed that love isn't just about embracing the good parts, but staying through the bad. And Ozzy taught me that. I think about the moment when I realized, yes, this is what love looks like. It's when you stay when it's hard, when you hold his hand after the show, when you see the fear in his eyes backstage, when you laugh with the children at home and you fight through the nights of worry and regret. For Ozzy, for us, there were storms, infidelities, desperate nights, accidents, illnesses. But we never gave up. The love I feel for Ozzy is not naive. It is forged through fire. Ozzy once said his proudest achievement was our marriage. I believe him, because I saw him look at me, and I saw that he knew I was his anchor. I knew he knew I was his. And that recognition, that mutual acknowledgement of you saved me and I will never let you go, that became our story. When the world wrote him off, I stayed. When his body weakened, I held him. When the headlines screamed, I whispered, "I love you." He changed me. I changed him. In loving Ozzy, I discovered the parts of myself I didn't know existed. My strength, my resilience, my capacity to forgive and to hope and to stay. I also discovered something about humor in love. When he'd wink at me after a disastrous day, or when he'd try to sing a ballad off key just to make me smile, I'd remember, this is the man. Not perfect, not polished, but fully alive. There were times when I questioned, is that enough? Is staying enough? Is forgiving enough? But then I would look at Ozzy's face, his grin, his scars, his trembling hand when he held mine. And I'd know, yes, love is enough. Because love isn't just what you say. It's what you do when you're tired, when you're hurt, when you're afraid. And we did all that. In those years, I learned that falling in love isn't a moment. It's a series of moments. 1,000 small instances of kindness, gestures, words, glances. When Ozzy would pause in the middle of the night and ask if I was okay. When I'd cook dinner and find him asleep on the couch, guitar in hand, dreaming of riffs and melodies. When we'd argue until one of us was crying and then laugh until we couldn't stop. All those moments built the foundation of our love. Ozzy's voice became the soundtrack of our lives. His songs, his tours, his backstage stories, they were his world, but I was allowed in. And in allowing me in, he told me, you matter. The wild crowds didn't matter as much as you. The flashing lights didn't matter as much as your hand in mine. That realization, when a legend leans into you and says, you're my home, that is when you truly fall in love. So today, remembering Ozzy, I remember that love story. Not the glamorous version, but the real one. The late nights, the tears, the laughter, the forgiveness. I remember when I first said, I love you, and when he first said it back with that shaky voice. I remember his hand on my shoulder, his eyes searching mine. I remember my heart pounding because of him and because of us. Ozzy changed the world of rock, but for me, he changed my world. He showed me the way to love unconditionally, to protect fiercely, to stay steadfastly. I fell in love with the man, the flawed man, the courageous man, the creative man. I fell in love with Ozzy, and that love will stay with me forever. Even when the lights dim, the stage is quiet, the crowd has gone, I will still see his grin, hear his laughter, feel his presence. I will keep loving Ozzy because loving him was the best decision I ever made. Because love like that, raw, real, enduring, is rare. Because he wasn't just my husband. He was my partner, my mirror, my rock. So here's to you, Ozzy Osbourne. Thank you for being you. Thank you for every riff, every scream, every quiet moment of vulnerability. Thank you for loving me and letting me love you. I fell in love with you, and I will love you always.